takeaways this past week? I mean, just the defensive performance that you guys put on for one. Maybe talking about the defense for most of the season, they've been impressing, but just, I mean, seeing the progression, I mean, it's where you want to be, right? I mean, you're game before last.
Well, and everybody knows you either talk about something you need to talk about because it's substandard, or you're talking about it because it's above standard. And there's really kind of no in between. You're either above it or below it. Would have been nice to have 6. We had one before half that was probably the easiest of the 6, or easier than all 5 of the interceptions. And Dejan's not too happy with me because I poked the bear a few times from Saturday night, from right before half to now. And I asked him, what were you thinking? He goes, I wasn't thinking anything. I was seeing the end zone, but I didn't capture the football. So we were close to 6, but I tell you what, +4 overall and 5 takeaways. I mean, it's what we're capable of doing. We need to do this year because we're not stacking points as plentiful as we have in the past. And so when you're talking about what the differences are and picking the other side of the ball up, we're red zone defense has been stellar. Takeaways have been stellar, and we've been, from a yardage standpoint in conference, been really stellar. So that's kind of puttied up some of the other stuff that maybe hasn't been as standard as we'd like it in other areas. And so you could fall in some areas if you're larger than others, and we've been able to play some good complementary football this year. And it hasn't been perfect by any stretch, but boy, it's been light years ahead of last year, especially defensively. And everybody, in that 12-game segment last year, thought the sky was falling. The sky will never fall. It will never fall. They write books about that, but it never falls. And I'm just in a different chair than most people are. People ask questions, and I'm fine. But a lot of people ask questions and want different answers. And when they don't get the answer that they intend to get, then all of a sudden they continue to drive that question home. And be patient. First year, new guys. It's been fun to watch, and it's not just fun to watch Saturday. It's fun to watch Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday as a team. They enjoy each other's company. And again, I'll go on record and say it's the most coachable team that I've been a part of as a head coach in 9 years. Not to say that it's light years ahead of other teams, but they're just coachable. Part of that is because they're first and second year in some of the systems, and first year playing a lot of situations. Hopefully those guys continue to be coachable as they're in year 2, year 3, year 4 in the system. But, the record doesn't speak to the coachability and the success that we've had on the field. But we've needed some of those turnovers and takeaways, and we've needed some of those, 4th down stops, throughout the course of the year to pick other sides of the ball up. And what a better way to finish senior season. A lot of the guys at home on the red last week, and the opportunity on the road to hopefully do the same in slow.
One of the guys said, I don't remember which one, but just knowing the difference between ending the season 4-4, 5-3.
Yeah.
You just said it, like, you're in a different seat. Fans are in a different seat. Like, you look at this team week to week, and you see a lot of the progress that you're referencing, so the endurance that you're referencing. Do you feel like you need to get to a certain number here to prove to a lot of Eagle fans that this season was or wasn't a success?
You said kind of one of the magical words that we try to stay away from. A lot of people like to prove to people things. I always tend to tell guys, prove it to yourself. Like, prove it to a high school coach that you can play Division I football. I have many, hundreds and thousands of conversations over the course of my 9 years as head coach, and I hear that a lot. I got to prove to my dad. I got to prove to my brother. And no one ever says I got to prove it to myself. Like, spend that energy on yourself. And so it's kind of the mantra that we talk about is we don't have to prove it to anybody outside our 4 walls. They're going to ask, and we're going to answer. We're going to answer with a ton of conviction and a ton of belief. And again, progress is determined by, depending on who you talk to. In this sport, progress could be great for 3 weeks and then regression the 4th week. Each week is its own season, and I really felt probably the last couple of years that's the way this sport has trended. That every week is a season, and then that season is done, and then the next week's upon your team. 48 hours later, you're on the field practicing for a new opponent. So it's so special. The time you spend preparing for 3 hours of work, 1 week at a time, and the offseason that's put in, I don't think there's anything that compares to it. Just all of the stuff and we'd be here forever. And every team does it. And every team's expectations are high going into the season. Everybody's optimistic. And then the season plays out the way it plays out. And there's a lot of variables once the season starts, too. But I think I know we've made a ton of progress. In a lot of areas. We've regressed in some of the areas that maybe were around here in Cheney over the years offensively that the expectation is, and that's fine. Those expectations are there because we've met those expectations for a long time. But if it is different, just take a deep breath. It is a team game. The game has evolved from an offensive game to a defensive game. The games are shorter because the series are less. There's a lot of variables to this game now that weren't around 4, 5, 6 years ago. So I'm just happy for the coaches and the players and their belief in one another, and taking what we need to take out and putting in what we need to put in with damn near half new faces on both sides of the ball, performing on Saturdays at the clip that allows us a chance to win games.
Do you feel like this team has, talking about those expectations, maybe a different identity than teams you've coached in the past?
Yeah, it's like a big kids playground at practice. I mean, I think that's what this team needs. I just, some teams need kind of really, really tight funnel focus and a little bit more, dare I say, straight walking, and there's some give and take. You got to kind of find what your team is gonna, what kind of beat your team is going to kind of move to a little bit. And every year it's different. This locker room will be different come Sunday. We will never lace it up with all these guys, and that's cool in a lot of ways, and it's also creates a lot of anxiety in a lot of ways because that group will never be together in the same room again, each and every one of them, in that environment. So you do have to, I wouldn't say adapt, you have to kind of have a pulse of your team a little bit, of your coaches, even if it works against what your thought process was going in. It's kind of like the course of a game. You have a game plan, and then if your game plan, you got to get off your game plan. You can't be so stubborn not to get away from your game plan. And so, we'll reflect after the season, and a lot of guys will say, how come it's different, in the winter than it was? There's a lot of similarities. Foundationally, you're going to do a lot of the same things. It's how we change those things up, when we do those things, where we do those things, who we do those things with, to kind of give them a not a Groundhog's Day approach. And so, but it is. I feel like I'm kind of, in a good way, like a recess aid out there, where like you break something up when you need to. But I'm also, no one really enjoys the recess aids because you want to let them just do what they want to do. We've all been there on the playground, and you kind of eye roll the recess aid, then you get over it the next day, and you go out and perform. They just enjoy each other's company. They want to be better at ball. I think they're more serious about ball than we've have been in the past in their preparation on their own, not just when it's required. So that stuff's infectious in a good way, and the more we can run with that, as fast as we can run, the better off we are as days going forward.
You know what it's like to walk off the field for the final time. What is that like going into this, knowing there's a group of guys that won't play again?
Yeah, it's kind of the double whammy this go round because our last one is on the road. We've done the last one at home, and I know we spoke, I think, about it last week, where the last one at home was with 2 games left after the home game a couple years ago. So it was kind of an odd senior day with 2 to go. It hits you hard at home because you see a ton of families. Senior day, everybody's family's there. People you haven't maybe met along the way, you meet on senior day and take a picture with them. It tugs at you in different ways. This one is probably be less family members at the games, but still the same players playing in the game on the road. And it's a difference between a hell of a happy flight home and kind of a somber ride home. But either way, it is finality. And a lot of people don't like to know when finality is going to happen. And I may argue it's, having been in the playoffs many, many times, a player and as a coach, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm addicted to playoffs, and that's something we chase, but not knowing when it's going to be done, that it could be done, might be almost, you might get more anxious that it is done, as opposed to you can kind of prep for it being done, and these guys are going to get everything they got. Just play within the means of what you're coached to do, and let the chips fall. And but it is be a little bit different on the road, 60+ degrees, so it'll be short sleeve weather and all that stuff. We'll get back day game, but it'll be senior day for them, so we'll be on the opposite side of things this next week and slow, as opposed to UNC was with our game last week.
Mustangs have not had the best of luck over the last few weeks. Obviously, they're going to want to play earlier their senior day.
Mhm.
What do you guys need to do to
Well, I mean, they played some really good ball. They beat a Sac State team at Sac that we lost to at home. That's very clear. That's fact, not fiction. They had 2 chances last week to tie NAU in Flagstaff, a ranked team on the road, and just couldn't get it done. They're moving the ball fairly effectively. They're giving the ball up probably too much for their liking on offense. Their defense played lights out for about the first 6 or 7 games of the year, and the more film, the more people try to attack you in different ways. I think the road legs, if you will. I mean, they've played 7 road games. They've played 4 home games. They're going to play their 5th home game with us. And so, they played 1 non-conference game at home against Western Oregon, played really, really well. They took Davis to the wire. They played Montana tough. I mean, they were really tough. I mean, they're up. So Davis and Montana, those teams, and really NAU, to the last couple minutes of the game, they probably felt like they should have stole one at Missoula and in Flagstaff. And so it's one of those pieces where they can put up points. They put the ball in the air. They've played with a couple different quarterbacks, and so obviously health is a factor for both teams at that position. And so. And those guys, a lot of those guys, I know half the staff I bump shoulders with for 16 hours a day for better part of 8 or 9 years, and so a ton of respect for Coach Wolf and him giving me the opportunity to cut my teeth here playing ball here. Coach Rosebach, Coach Sturdy, those guys coach a lot. Their strength coach, coach against Cody Van Oppen for a long time, obviously with him being at NAU. So there's a lot of similarity in knowing the folks there too, and a lot of respect, a lot of friendships made over the year. But those are the other 51 weeks out of the year, as opposed to the week we compete for a win or a loss.
as far as health with his capital and all that?
Mm-hmm.
All good?
Not all good, not all bad, but not all good. It's probably less optimistic than what we anticipated, to be honest with you, going into the game. So he'll go with us, and we'll play it out. And if you got a set of fingers, set of toes, please cross them for us, because we'll take them all. But we'll prepare as if he's not going to be the guy, and the surprise would be for us if he is the guy this Saturday. So we got to plan accordingly. If he's not going to take reps, we got to put someone in there that obviously is capable of taking reps. So it is an all hands on deck weekend this weekend. We got zero reason to leave any gas in the tank. Honestly, it's at any position and anywhere. So we will plan accordingly and start that preparation on Sunday morning. But may have to throw that one out and pick the other one up. But right now it doesn't look as optimistic as we anticipated.
So today, going on today,
Mm-hmm.
one is.
Became Rolfsness. Yeah.
Have you ever had a season where?
Absolutely not. And there's very few firsts here in Cheney, and that is a first. I've been asked that many times, and my job is to protect those guys for years as an offensive line coach. And had we gone through 4, I don't know if I would have got an invite back the next year, so to speak. And but it is what it is. It's an nest eagle up at the end of the day. And even if it is a high school kid, I mean, we have 5 for a reason, and now we're down to number 4 right now. And if he ends up getting the keys to the car, then drive that thing as fast and as fierce as you can, but be coachable and don't feel like you got to make the perfect play at any point in the game. You got 10 others around you.
Has that been, I don't want to say a conversation, but what is the energy kind of around that with the O-line? And I think obviously they take that job extremely seriously.
They do. I mean, again, you talk about youngness. That was the youngest crew we've had in terms of reps going into the season, which was just the opposite with those guys across the ball from. Those are the most reps we came back with in the D line. So, it was a quick study in spring. I mean, shoot, you look at the guys that are actually starting up front. I think 3 of those 5 weren't even in the position in spring, practicing those positions that have played all fall. So there's a ton to be excited about. They just haven't put it consistently enough together for series enough in a game. They've done enough, but I also have been in the position where you have freshmen and sophomores and first-year players that it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be an educational sequence. We'll look back and this time next year or the start of next year, we'll be more benefited from all those guys taking those turns and those reps because those are banked reps. But we've certainly taken more lumps than I anticipated. But that's the story of the game sometimes. So it's just kind of a weird year that way, and it hasn't been necessarily hits in the pocket. It's been kind of outside the pocket and scrambling. So it hasn't really. But the more we can protect that QB, the better off we are in any circumstance. And we've done an okay job, but we're always striving to do better.
Good, thank you.
Good.